Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sis to Sis podcast. Wow, I've been meaning to do this for such a long time now. Over a year, to be honest with you. I wanted to launch this podcast, but it never seemed like the right time. But mostly, I was finding excuses for myself. I was holding myself back because of fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of what will others think. Will others even be interested in what I have to say, what I have to share, and basically finding excuses all the time not to do this. But yeah, I turned 30 last year and I was like, Jess, now you need to get your shit together and you need to start doing the things that you want to do and the things that you love. And whatever, you just need to start. And if people love it, great. If they don't, then that's fine too. And you cannot be sure if anything's gonna fail if you don't even start. So here I am. I'm really happy to start this journey. I hope to have you on this journey with me along the way. And let me introduce myself quickly. I'm Jess. I turned 30 last year, so I'm actually 31 now. I live in Luxembourg, and this podcast is going to be in two languages actually, in French and in English, because most of you asked for that. About the Sis to Sis podcast, why is it called Sis to Sis? I really want this to be a place where we talk to each other as if we were talking to a sister. I've had the chance to grow up with a sister that means the world to me, with whom I was always able to talk freely without judgment, openly, authentically. We have a really strong bond. Like, she's my person for life. She's my soulmate. And I know how beautiful that bond is, but I also know that not everyone has that chance. And I really wanted this podcast to be a place where we can talk with each other as if we were sisters. I want this to be a safe place. I want this to be a place where we can talk about different subjects, about taboos, without fear of being judged, without fear of not being able to speak your truth or, holding back. No, I want this to be a place where you are yourself, where you can be authentic and where you can be heard, you can be understood. Because for me, that's what a sister is about too. And besides my blood sister, I have the chance to have other chosen sisters in my life with whom I'm also able to speak freely and to be myself. And those women all inspired me to, create this space where we could have discussions about all kind of topics, really, and, just share our experiences, share our opinions, share our thoughts. This is not a place where I want to educate anyone. I'm not an expert in anything. I just want to share my thoughts, my opinions, and discuss with people who are experts. So we will have different guests here on the show. So yeah, this is exactly what I aim to do with this podcast, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So let's dive into the first episode. Today, I'm actually going to talk about the pressure of turning 30. I also have my little notebook for those who are watching this. I took a few notes because, it's my first podcast, so I need a roadmap. Otherwise, I'm going to lose myself. So don't mind the notes, but this is going to help me. So as I told you before, last year I turned 30. And the anticipation of that, like before I turned 30, I was always talking about it, like, oh my God, guys, I'm turning 30 soon, like in a few months, in a few weeks, in a few days. I don't know, it made me anxious. And I know we always say that it's just a number, right? But there is so much more about the age 30 than it's just being a number that for me, it was huge. It was I wasn't really looking forward to it, to be honest with you, and there are many reasons for it. But let me just get started at the very beginning. I actually celebrated my 30th birthday in Hawaii. So that was pretty amazing, not gonna lie. I always wanted to do it, always wanted to celebrate my birthday. I don't know why, to be honest with you. Somehow it came up as a kid, I guess. And I always said my 30th is gonna be in Hawaii. I'm gonna celebrate there. It's my dream. Well, I don't know. Anyway, I did it. I spent my 30th birthday with my partner in Hawaii, and it was amazing. Honestly, if you ever have the chance to go there, do not hesitate. It's such a nice place. So yeah, when I was there, obviously I was on such a high. You're on vacation, you're in Hawaii, so that's not nothing. So I was feeling well, and it didn't really hit me the day where I turned 30, although everyone was, sending messages and calling me and whatever. It didn't hit me until I came back. And once I came back from holidays, it was really hard. I started to realize, okay, wow, you're not in your 20s anymore, you're 30. You're an adult now. This is getting serious. You're supposed to have your life figured out, and that was not my case at all. I feel like 30 is a number that comes with a lot of pressure and expectations from society, and it all hit me at once. When I came back and, I was in my daily routine, and things were not going the way I wanted them to go either. So that's when it started to hit me. And the whole year was actually pretty hard for me. I've started to become more anxious. I started to become less self-aware. I was comparing myself all the time. And I think there's a lot of pressure, especially for women, around that time. Be it your career, be it your love life, your finances, having kids, getting married, you're supposed to settle down, to buy a house, to have a social status, and all those things I could not relate to. And they started to make me anxious. I was like, okay, Jess, career-wise, you're not at all where you want to be. This is not what you want for yourself and for your future. Financially, you're also not where you want to be. You always see those people on social media. They seem like they have this great life. They're financially independent, and it feels like they have their finances figured out, and I think it can have a real impact on you. Kids-wise, I don't see myself having kids yet, but I know that it's often expected from a woman that is 30. Marriage-wise, you see all your friends or some people that you know getting married, but it's not something that you can relate to and that you want. I did buy a house because, well, we're in Luxembourg, and again, social pressure. All the rest seemed like I didn't have my life figured out yet, and I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. When I started working at the firm where I was working, when I had an interview, one of their main questions was, okay, so you're turning 30 this year, are you planning on having kids? And I know interviewers are not supposed to ask you that, like HR is not supposed to ask that question, but the fact is, in the real world, it happens. Once you have a certain age, people start asking those questions, even in the workplace. And although, I didn't want to have kids, that question bothered me because I felt like it was coming up all the time, And I just think that turning 30 is, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I feel like it's the age that comes with the most pressure. It's like a clear distinction between your youth and your adult life. like your 20s are gone, you know, and the 20s always, we always refer to the 20s as the age of youth, where you have all the fun in your life. It's the age where you do all your experiences, where you travel, you don't have to work right away after college or university or whatever you did. And then when you turn 30, you're like, okay, these years are behind me. Like, my youth is behind me now. Like, I'm 30, I'm an adult. And I think that's very hard for a lot of people, because I don't know if you're supposed to feel a certain way when you're in your 30s, but I did not feel like someone who just turned 30 and was supposed to be an adult now and just have all these things and have her life figured out. And it made me really anxious, because I did not want to leave my youth behind. I did not want to have everything figured out. I just wanted to continue to have fun and figure life out one day at a time. I did not want to settle down. I did not want to stick to one career. I was not envisioning myself having kids in the near future whatsoever. I did not want to get married. And it started to create a lot of pressure, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. And there's also a lot of people who have, I don't know if you guys had that, but who have a checklist, by 30 checklist, where you have all these things listed that you want to have done by the age of 30. And I also had one of those lists, and I was looking at it last year, and I was like, oh wow, Jess, all these things that you thought you were gonna have achieved by 30, you didn't. And that made me really, really sad and anxious again, because I was like, okay, what are you doing with your life? You said you were gonna do this by 30, you said you were gonna do this by 30, but you haven't. What are you doing? What are you waiting for? And I totally forgot all the things that I had achieved by 30. Sometimes we're so focused on that list and the things that you're supposed to do by the age of 30 that you totally forgot all the things that you actually did. And I feel like the more you focus on the things that you haven't achieved, the more obviously you're gonna feel anxiety, the more you're gonna compare yourself to others. Like, you know, you see your friends having their career figured out. They seem happy with their career. They seem happy with where they are in life. You see them having kids. You see them getting married. And you often compare yourself to those things, although it's not things that you want for yourself right now. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that that's what society projects onto us. That's what society says that you need to have figured out by that age, especially women. And there's another big point for women is the biological clock. I mean, how many of you approaching the age of 30 get asked, so, when is the wedding? So, when are you going to have kids? And I know that in general, it doesn't come from a bad place, people asking that, but that adds to the pressure. Yeah, I'm 30, but I don't want to get married. Yeah, I'm in a relationship. Does that mean I have to get married? Yes, I'm 30, but I don't want to have kids now. I want to focus on myself. I want to focus on my goals. I want to focus on my career. And often when a woman says that she doesn't want to have kids, people look at you like, oh, but you know, like the clock is ticking. You're not that young anymore. If you have kids by the age of 35 or 40, they're going to have health issues, or they're going to have mental issues, or maybe they're even going to have a disability. And how do you expect it not to affect you? I don't know. I came to a point where I just couldn't hear that question anymore. And whenever someone was asking me, I would get so irritated and almost not aggressive, but you know what I mean? I would be like, hey, this is not a question you're even supposed to ask a woman. What if I can't have kids? And you're just rubbing it in my face by, being like, oh, when are you going to have kids? Or you've been together for years. What are you waiting for? Like, is it any of your concern when I'm going to have kids? But yeah, so that was also something that, I think that's also something that adds to the pressure of being a woman in your 30s. And it really started to affect me a lot. It didn't change my mind yet. I still don't want to have kids. But I do think about it more often than I thought I would, just because all that outside noise and seeing your friends having kids, seeing people that you know having kids, it makes you question yourself. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that. Something else that I've noticed is the value that society gives to a woman that just turned 30. And by that, I don't mean that the value increases or decreases, but you are seen differently. If you are a woman that's 30 and still isn't married, still hasn't gotten any kids, not planning to have any kids anytime soon, who doesn't have her career figured out, who doesn't want to settle down, who seems to have a lot of fun on weekends, or who doesn't follow the rules that society kind of expects of a woman, you can feel that people still see you as a woman that is not responsible. You know what I mean? I find it really sad, because who are outside people to judge how you're supposed to live your life? Why is it so important to have done all these things by the age of 30? Why do people value you differently based on all those things? Who says that you can't do these things at the age of 35, 36, 37? Why are we all so focused on that being the age of figuring things out, of being more responsible? Who said that you need to be all those things by the age of 30? I don't know. It's always been crazy to me, and I never thought about it until I did turn 30. I always thought that people were exaggerating, but I never thought that it was other people's perspective and perception of you that changes. I thought people were always relating to themselves changing by the age of 30. But I think what truly does change is how people see you, what people expect of you once you are in your 30s. Because I often get the reaction when people ask me my age, and I'm like, yeah, I'm 31. And I see how that changes for a lot of people. Most of them tell me that, oh, wow, you don't look like you're 31. I'm like, yeah, thank you for the compliment. But I also see that it's not the only thing they mean. You can feel that. You can feel when someone kind of changes their opinion of you based on your age and based on where you are in your life in that moment. And I get it. We've all been programmed like that. We've grown up with all these ideas. We've grown up with all this social pressure and expectations, be it from parents, be it from school, be it from movies even, or books. And I get it, but I feel like it's on us now probably to change that. And another thing is also your social life in your 30s. I had a really hard time accepting that your social life changes once you start working, you know. When you're a teenager or when you are in your early 20s and you're still studying, you see your friends a lot. Like, you're with them all the time, especially if you're at university and you see them there every day, you see them after class. Sometimes you might even live with them, or when you come home on the weekends, you have your whole weekend planned out with your friends. So you're always surrounded by your friends all the time, you're always stimulated, and once you start working, that changes. The whole dynamic changes. And then it also depends where you live, especially here in Luxembourg, you know, if you live in the south and your friends live in the north or in the city center or, I don't know, in the east, west, whatever, the whole dynamic changes because you're not as close to them anymore, like physically, literally. You have your work, you have all your obligations, all your responsibilities, and like I said before, some of us change their life by having kids, by getting married. And for me, that was also really hard to accept that you don't see your friends that often anymore. You have to start planning when you're going to see them. You have to put that in your calendar. People are not as spontaneous anymore because they have obligations. They are tired from work. They have their kids to take care of. They have their home to take care of. And then you also want to work out. And it's a lot. And everyone has their life. And that can also be overwhelming in your adult life once you start having a routine and a job. And I also feel like that's something that changes a lot, even more in your 30s, because it is the age where everyone is focusing on their career, on their family. And that also creates, for me at least, it created a lot of sadness. I felt I wasn't alone, but I felt alone at times because I was like, oh wow, we are all growing up, we are all working, we are all focusing on our own things. Some of us have their side hustles, some of us have their businesses, some of us have their kids to take care of. We're not seeing each other as much anymore. Oh wow, we have to plan to see each other in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and that also did something to me. And I think that's something that we also need to learn and accept. And for me, that was also a big thing that was hard to accept. And then obviously there's something that I had also heard a lot before, and especially my mom. And that's the physical and physiological changes that happen, especially for a woman. By the age you turn 30, there are biological and scientific reasons for why this happens, and also environment and just your lifestyle and how busy you are. If you're, everything has an impact on it. But my mom and other women often said, wow, your body changes by the age of 30, especially if you had kids, obviously. But again, that's also something I thought was exaggerated, but it's not. Biologically speaking, it's true, like your body starts to change, your metabolism starts to change, and that's also something that can be very frustrating as a woman. Your metabolism is not as fast as it used to be. You have to pay closer attention to what you're eating. You might have to work out a bit more. You don't recover as fast. Like, nights out are not the same as they used to be. Like, if you go to sleep at 5 a.m. and had a drink the night before, the next day you're gonna be fucked up. And I never believed that. When people said that, I was always like, oh, come on, you're exaggerating. You're not a grandma at 30. But man, was I wrong. Like, I did feel all of those changes. I did feel that when I was going out on a Friday night, that I would be tired until Monday, man. Like, wow. And in my 20s, I was able to go out on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday, I would be fresh as a, you know. And I think, seeing all those changes in your body, in yourself, and everything changes. Even your face changes, like you don't look as youthful anymore. You look more like a woman. You look more grown. And there are people who have a harder time accepting that than others. And I think for me, I was so focused on that number. I was so aware that in that moment that I had turned 30, that I was focusing on all these things. I was seeing all those changes because I was aware of them. And maybe I was even hyper fixating on them to the point that it would drive me crazy and that it would make me feel sad and depressed in a way that I had never felt before, And I think those are the things we don't talk about enough. Like all these expectations that come with that age. I also believe that often people settle at that age. If you're in a relationship that has been going on for a few years and the relationship doesn't have to be toxic, but you know in your gut that you're not supposed to stay with that person or be with that person, I feel like especially women, they often settle for that partner because they are at the age where they're like, oh my God, I'm not going to be single and alone at 30. We've been together now for quite some time. This is the age where I'm supposed to get married. This is the age where I'm supposed to have kids. Let me stay with that person. And so they settle and they're not happy and they even force themselves to have kids with that person because they're like, well, at least I know him. At least I can have kids with him. And I find that so sad because you're forcing yourself to have kids with someone just because you've been with him for a while and because you are in that age where it's expected from you and where biologically speaking, it is better to have kids before the age of 40. And it's just really sad. And I do feel like we don't talk enough about that pressure and all these thoughts that come into mind when you turn 30, all this stress and anxiety that it brings. I feel like there is still a lot of judgment. And yet again, more for women than for men because biologically speaking, we are different. It is more pressing for us to have a kid at that age than it is for a man. And I think that can be a lot for a woman, to be in a place where she feels like she doesn't have her career figured out, she's not in the relationship she would like to be, but she's going to settle because it's the right time to have kids. It's the age where, wow, if you're single, what the hell is wrong with her? And the more you age, also the harder it is to find a partner, because this is a very taboo thing to talk about, but a woman's value, sexually speaking, decreases in her 30s. I think often women are aware of that, and I know that I've had a really hard time accepting that I had indeed turned 30 and that there were all these expectations, there was all this pressure. And I'm not gonna lie, it's probably been one of the hardest years for me because I was putting all this external pressure, I was putting it on myself too. I was putting all this external pressure on myself. Even if I didn't want to, but You can't even control it at some point. And I was trying not to, and I was trying at times to reason myself and be like, but Jess, like, you don't want to settle. You don't want to stay in this job. You don't want to have kids now. You don't want to get married. Hell, you don't even just want to stay in Luxembourg. Why are you comparing yourself to people that you know or not really know, but what you see? Why are you comparing yourself to even your friends if this is not the life that you are envisioning for yourself? It took me a long time to realize all that, to realize the self-sabotage, and to turn around all those ideas and be like, hey, there is no right time or age to do all those things. All this pressure is external, and you are projecting it onto yourself. You are putting pressure on yourself for all those societal standards that you always said you would not follow and live by. And it took me a year to realize all that. Honestly, once I turned 31, I was like, okay, you've done the 30 thing for a year now, you're fine. Now it's time to focus on what you want to do and not on all the things that you don't want to do. And I think for a whole year, I was focusing on all the things that I didn't have figured out yet, that I wasn't doing, that I didn't have compared to other people, although I didn't want to have them. By the time I turned 31, I was like, okay, enough. Now you need to focus on how you actually want to live your life. Now you need to get out of that darkness, let's say. You need to get out of that, even self-pity, let's be honest, and comparison, because comparison, it can destroy you. And I really love that quote that says, comparison is the thief of joy, and it really is. Because comparing myself to others and to what society expected from me was taking away my joy. It was taking away my focus even. Like, it was taking all these things from me, and it created a resistance to things, and I wasn't able to do the things that I wanted to do, like launching this podcast, because I even thought, it's too late now for you, the time is over. But what the hell? Why was I even thinking that? And like, what are people gonna think if she launches her podcast? She's supposed to have a successful career, and all these limitations that I was putting into my head were kind of taking over my life at some point, and it made me forget about all the things that I was doing. And I think that's often the problem, is that we focus on all the things that we don't have, all the things that we are not doing, all the things we haven't achieved, instead of all the things that we are doing right and the path that we are building for ourselves. What I wanted to share too is that I think we all go through a phase like that. It doesn't have to be in your 30s. For other people, it might be in your 20s. For other people, it might be in your 40s, it might be in your 50s. And maybe you're never going to experience a phase like that. And if so, that's great. Like, nothing's wrong with you if you don't go through a phase like that, I'm pretty sure. But what I did want to say is that when you are going through a phase like that, at some point you just need to refocus on yourself and be like, hey, what is it that I want? I don't care if my mom or dad or friends think that I should have kids, that I should have a partner by now, that I should be married by now, that I should have my career figured out by now, that I should be financially stable, that I should live in one place, that I should not travel the world, or that I should not start a business. I don't care about that. What do I want? Who said that it's too late? Who said that I'm too old? Who said that the timing isn't right? The only person that can decide that is you. And I'm not trying to be a motivational speaker here or whatever. What I'm trying to say is that there is no right time. There is only your own timing. There are societal expectations, but that does not mean that you have to live by them. Even though we grew up with a certain education, a certain mentality, and all these things that we learned from home, from school, from society in general, no one ever said that they are right. That's not something that is a fact. Those are expectations. Those are, and even so, those expectations changed over time. If you look back 50 years ago, you were supposed to have kids by the age of 21. So we are shifting those expectations to a later age, but still there are those expectations. And if you are someone who never wants to get married, who never wants to have kids, who never wants to settle down, who never wants to buy a house, so what? What if you want to be single all your life? What if you want to travel the world? What if you want to live in America for a year and then in Asia for another 10 years and then come back to Europe? So what? If that's how you want to live life, if that's what makes you happy, who are they, and by they I mean everyone in your life, to tell you that that is not how you're supposed to live your life? Who said that there are rules in life? Who said that you need to have a career? Who said that you need to do one job or the same type of job for the rest of your life? Who said that you can't, by the age of 40, decide to become a therapist? Who said that by the age of 50 you can't decide to become an artist? Who said that? And I know I'm not just a dreamer. It's just, I think we all put ourselves in cases and we follow all these standards that have been laid out for us. And we forget what truly makes us happy. We forget what it is that we want to achieve in life just because we are afraid of what other people are going to say. We are afraid of failing. We are afraid that it's too late. We are afraid that we're too old. But there is no such thing as being too old, being too young, being too this, being too that. There is just what you make of it, you know? It took me a long time to come to that realization. In my 20s, I was really fierce and I knew exactly what I wanted and what I didn't want. Somehow it got a bit blurry while I was aging, and that's a shame. And that's what I wanted to come to with this podcast today, with this episode, is that even though you go through a phase in your life where it seems you seem very lost, you don't really know anymore what it is that you want, other people's lives can influence you, or you can get confused there for a moment, but don't settle. Don't follow people's expectations. Don't follow the rules. And as cliche as this might sound, just follow your heart, honestly. Follow your gut, follow your intuition, and make sure that you actually do the things that you want to do in life. Do not limit yourself, because there's so many possibilities and opportunities in life. And we are, for most part, the only ones limiting ourselves. Because once you are a grown-ass woman, no one can tell you what you can't and cannot do, you know? And sometimes the only person that is telling us what we can't do is ourselves. And once we get rid of those limiting beliefs, I think we really open ourselves up to all those opportunities. We invite in opportunities. I mean, we're often so scared of being rejected, of being made fun of being judged, that we stay in our exact same situation and we don't attract the right things. So yeah, trust your own timing. Know that it's never too late to change your life. Know that others have no say in how you're supposed to live your life. And even though it's going to impact you at times, even though it's going to frustrate you, even though it's going to make you mad at times, just take a step back and be like, don't let their projection of their idea of how you're supposed to live your life have an impact on you. Because I've done that for a long time. And even from people who do want the best for you, like your parents, your entourage, there's a lot of people, they just want the best for you. But even them, even sometimes those people are projecting their fears and their expectations onto you. And don't let that happen. So we've reached the end of this episode. I hope you've liked it. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to follow me on social media, Sis2Sis podcast, on YouTube. You can also listen to me on Spotify. And let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Feel free to share with me if you can relate. Feel free to tell me your experience, whether you are 30 or 30 plus, or whether you are approaching the 30s. We can have a conversation. I'm always open to talk and to share. That's really what this podcast is about. And now I wanted to finish off this podcast by thanking a few people. First of all, I want to thank my sister, Meili, for being my rock, for being everything I could wish for in a sister. Although she's my younger sister, she's often the one, motivating me, supporting me, picking me up, making me laugh. She's very wise, so I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for always being there for me, for never judging me, for always loving me the way you do. Secondly, all my chosen sisters, you all know who you are. You also are a rock in my life, supporters. You are genuine friends, and I will forever be grateful for you. All of you know. And then I wanted to thank one of my best friends for lending me her studio for today. Sherry, I love you. And I wanted to finish up by thanking my coach, Kevin, who is also one of my best friends, who I've known for years now, who's helped me prepare for this podcast. He helped me go through all the steps that you need to take. He's taught me a lot. He helped me a lot. He encouraged me a lot. And I'm very grateful for you. Lastly, I wanted to thank all of you for listening to me, for following me on social media, for all your nice messages and encouragements. It means a lot. To all of you who shared it on social media, who talked about it, who kept asking me, okay, so when is the first episode coming out? I see you. I appreciate it a lot. And stay tuned for the next episodes. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and see you next time. My voice. Guys, it's really hard to talk to a camera for... How long did I talk? I think half an hour at least. Wow. All these people that have been doing that for years and that are rocking it, congrats. This is really hard. I feel like a freak right now. Anyway.